Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Tinselyn Sims Hall, and I am from the Women's Collective. So today, you all know, this is a presentation entitled Feminizing the Condom. What I would love to hear before we get started is, when you come into this workshop, what are you looking to learn? So I'm going to take about 3 people. They could raise their hand for me. Anybody want to raise their hand? And in this workshop, what are you looking to learn in here? And then let's hopefully make sure that I get it done.
Well, the main thing I'm trying to learn is how a woman's supposed to use this, because I'm always asked that question all the time. So
I can guarantee you'll learn that. Anybody else want to tell me something that they're looking to learn in this workshop? Because you came here. You had a great choice. One more person?
Learning how to use a condom properly.
Okay, learn how to use it properly. Similar to what this guy. Anybody have anything different? Is everyone just kind of wanting to know how to use it? Okay, we have 2.
I'd like to learn how to talk to people that we work with about using it, because there is a lot of mystery around this condom for both providers and for the folks that we work with, for users of it as well, or potential users of it. So how to kind of do a sales pitch for it.
I think I'm a good person to talk to about a sales pitch. I think. Okay, it's important that I be mobile. So that's kind of why I try to swing this one around. So everything that you kind of have listed are things that we're really going to try to address in here. I encourage you to ask questions at the end if I have not adequately addressed whatever it is you came here to learn. I'm especially interested in hearing what you may have heard in trying to promote this condom to other women and men in the past. All right, so let's get started. Basically, I am representing the Women's Collective. We have our mission statement up here, but to paraphrase that, the Women's Collective is an organization based in Washington, D.C., and we primarily serve women, girls, and families. So we have medical case management services. We do prevention with positive programs. We have support groups, counseling, testing, and referral services, family and social activities, community. We have a community kitchen and pantry, and that's a wonderful asset. That I think that's one of the things that really sets us apart from a lot of providers, is that we understand that we're working with women, and women have unique needs. And one of the very unique needs of women is being able to provide food, usually not just for them and for their family. And what we know with HIV meds, a lot of times you need to take medicines with them. And women are unfortunately placed in a lot of positions where they have to choose between feeding themselves and feeding their children, and then the meds get left off of the plate. And so we make sure that there's always food available in our office so that women have a place to come and grab something to eat. We have a Tiffany Fund and also youth groups. So the Women's Collective is basically founded out of the experiences of our founder and executive director, which is Patricia Knowles. Some of you may be familiar with Patricia Knowles and her story, but she is a woman who did not fit any of the stereotypes of what people say people who are living with HIV are. Thank you. Great. So she doesn't fit really any of the stereotypes, and she's basically at 29 years old, found herself to be living with AIDS. She had a husband who was dying and a child that was dying. And out of her struggles in this time, she realized that there weren't enough services that really provided for women, and that women weren't being allowed into research trials, and women were just being ignored in the epidemic because it was basically seen to be a white gay men's disease. And out of those struggles and out of realizing that there really needed to be some women-focused based services, she started this organization, which we now know as the Women's Collective. And it really just started off as a support group called the Coffee House, and we still have that, where women can just come and talk. So let's talk about our experience with the Female Condom. In DC, we have this program called DC's Doing It. And DC's Doing It is basically an initiative by the MAC AIDS Fund, the Washington AIDS Partnership and HOSTA. They came together to fund broader access to the female condom. So what that means is they realized that the female condom wasn't being implemented broadly, and they came together and they funded 5 community-based organizations. And of those 5, we're in the second year of the program, and 4 are still doing the programming. The Women's Collective, Planned Parenthood of Metro Washington, D.C., Our Place, and Calvary Healthcare are the people that are still promoting the female condom. We see the female condom in a broader sense to be a reproductive justice issue. If any of you grabbed one of the papers up here, and you can always grab one at the end. The Women's Collective does a lot of work around reproductive justice, and we consider access to a condom that is unique for women is a reproductive justice issue. Women should have access to prevention methods that are focused around them. We also really promote the use of microbicides. That's very important. And until we have a microbicide that is actually working and women can use, the female condom is the next best thing we have in having a women-focused prevention tool. So, why should women have access to the female condom? Let me ask you first. Anybody want to tell me, why do you think it's important for women to have access to the female condom? Nobody has any idea? Let's hear. Come on up here, Abby.
Because a man might not have one.
Man might not have one. Anyone have another idea as to why it's important that women have access to female condoms? Because a lot of times when we look at the female condom, we really think about it like it's optional. You'll see a lot of people passing out condoms and they don't have any available. And we really see this as an optional form of prevention. But we assert that it's not optional, that it really should be available and a part of anybody's prevention toolkit. And there's some really specific reasons. Does someone else have their hand up as to a reason why?
Females should always protect themselves at all times.
Right. Females should always protect themselves. You had something?
Yeah, it was part of what she just stated, but I don't know how many people you've been with without being safe, and you may not know my status also. So that's why it's so important that women have condoms.
Exactly. And sorry, Tony doesn't know. I didn't kind of cue her in into how this thing works, so we really appreciate her stepping in for them. Some of the main reasons that we say that is important is, one, it's their right. It's the right of women to have a tool that is based upon their body and their physical needs. And it's their right to have it available to them. It's simply not enough to tell women you must rely on a man to use a form of prevention. That's not fair, and it's a serious issue that a lot of people, it's a standpoint that a lot of people have, and it's not fair and it's not true. Male condoms aren't for everybody. There's a tons of reasons that we've been getting feedback to say why male condoms don't work for everybody, such as sometimes men have issues with actually putting on the condom. The female condom is not put on him. Sometimes a woman may have a need to discreetly have a prevention tool, so she doesn't really want to have that conversation about using a condom. The female condom allows her to have it on, and when the intimate moment starts, I've already have on my prevention. What you gonna do? You gonna pass it up or keep it moving? And it doesn't make it that we have to go through some of those conversations that sometimes are very difficult for women, and sometimes they are not in relationships that allow for those conversations. And we have to be very real about that. Condoms are not always optional. A lot of times people are in relationships where they are being forced to do certain things. Maybe it's a mode of survival to do certain things, and that the option of conversing with someone and negotiating with someone about a condom is not always a real option. And we have to really begin thinking about it like that, and the female condom does allow that. Another thing is it just provides another option. It adds some spice, some variety, a different thing that you can do. People many times use the female condom for foreplay, so it gives something different. Instead of the foreplay of a condom having to be on the man, it allows for foreplay with the woman using a condom. And then the last thing is it works. Why would you not have a prevention tool available for women that actually works? So that's kind of what we say. The female condom is important to women. And that is because basically the traditional condom is male focused. It relies on the male. So it's used on the male genitalia. It requires a man to be comfortable with his genitals. If a man tenses up or gets a little weird about the idea of putting it on and he loses his erection, you can't use the male condom anymore. But the female condom, you can. You can use it without a man having an erection. And so it allows sometimes for sex and condom usage to be a little bit more spontaneous. Next slide. Thank you. So the FC2, it's important because it gives sexual decision-making power to women. It's my choice if I use this or not. And even if I'm in a relationship where I don't have a lot of choice, it gives me another option to try to assert some type of choice. That's why it's important. It can be applied hours before sexual stimulation, 2 hours before. So basically, you coming over, I know you on your way, I can put my condom on, we can sit down, have dinner, and when we get ready to have sex, I already got the condom on because it can be on 2 hours before you have sex. Another thing is it provides additional pleasure for females. When we're going to get ready to get into the piece in a little bit about how you actually use the female condom, and what you'll notice is that there's a ring on the female condom that goes on the outside of the vaginal canal, and that ring sometimes can provide clitoral stimulation. So basically, if you understand a woman's reproductive system, you will understand that the clitoris is the place where you get your most stimulation. So I'm going to pause the PowerPoint really quick because we're talking about something that's up on this poster, and we're going to go through it. So let's look at what we have up here. We have a couple missing, like 2 names. Does anybody have names that didn't bring them up to the front? No? Okay. Let's see if I can visually pick out which ones we're missing. All right. So let's start first with the female genitalia. This is very important in understanding how the female condom works. And this is very important to anyone who is doing condom demonstrations. A lot of times people just don't know. Think about how confused you were coming to be like, what goes where? It can be confusing, and that's the reason why some people don't understand why the female condom works, because we don't really understand our genitals that well. We don't know how many holes we have, what each hole does, what the little things that cause us to have a good time while we having sex. We don't understand those things, and when you do kind of empower women especially with the education about how their genitals actually work, it helps them to understand the female condom a little better. So first thing we have is someone has labeled this light. I know it's kind of far away, and if I was in the back, I wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm going to try to break it out. This light pink area, someone has labeled that labia minora. And then we have this dark pink area, and someone has labeled it labia majora. Do we think we have it right? Anybody know what the slang word is for these? Outer lips and inner lips. And they're actually reversed. So you have 2 sets of lips. A woman has 2 sets of lips on her genital areas, and they kind of act as like protective cases for the holes that are here in your vaginal area, and they kind of fold over. So you have 2 sets of lips. You have a set of outer lips and a set of inner lips. Then we got this one. That's the anus, or the other word people use is what? The butthole. Okay. Then we have this opening right here. And what is that? Someone labeled as vaginal opening. Do we agree? Yes, it is the vaginal opening. And sometimes you may think that this is not important, but some people do not understand what this vaginal opening is for. So you have to explain that to women sometimes. You have a vaginal opening that serves 3 distinct purposes. One purpose is sex, penetration. One purpose is that's where your period comes every 28 days. And the other purpose is that's where babies come out of. Sometimes you really have to explain that, because once they understand what the vaginal opening is for, it helps them to understand how the female condom works. Next thing you have here is the urethra. And on here we call the urethra the pee hole. It's correctly labeled. So sometimes what we have to explain to women is that you have 3 holes down here, and everything doesn't come out of one hole. People tend not to know that you have 3 holes that serve very different purposes. And your pee hole is just that, your pee hole. Nothing goes in it, only things come out of it. If you try to put anything in it, it's going to hurt really bad, and you're going to go to the hospital. That's the way you explain it, so they don't think that that's where they are going to be using the female condom. And then the thing right here is the clitoris, or the slang word is clit. So what we try to do is we try to give women these fancy terms so they can understand it and just be empowered with that name. But it's also very important that you talk in real terms they understand. Some people are never going to call this labia majora and labia minor. So we say lips, your inner lips, your outer lips, and we explain stuff like that. So it's okay to use both terms. But the clitoris, and does anybody know what the purpose of the clitoris is? It only has one purpose. Pleasure, exactly, pleasure. That's the point of it. That's what women, sometimes it can experience a climax through clitoral stimulation. That is a lot of times when women, if some women cannot experience a climax through penetration, they will experience through their clitoris. And when the female condom is inserted into the vagina, it covers this area right here, offering a different, an extended level of protection that the male condom doesn't provide, because the male condom doesn't provide for that skin-to-skin contact that can happen when people are just rubbing up against one another. And so when it comes out and it comes around this area, it also has a small ring on it that sometimes can rub up against the clitoris and provide clitoral stimulation. Do you know how impactful that is for a woman to hear, what? This condom will help me feel a little better? It's like a sex toy. That is a selling point. And sometimes we have women just say, I want to try it because I want to see what that feels like. Sometimes we tell women to put the condom on hours before you have sex and walk around the house. Your first time, just walk around the house with it. And they'll be like, hey, that was real good, what I felt with that condom on. Because a lot of women don't realize that we tend to think about penetration as being the way the sexual pleasure is felt. But there can be a great amount of sexual pleasure through clitoral stimulation. And then also explaining what the reproductive system looks like on the inside of your body. So explaining that if you put your fist like this, put it over top of your belly button, that's about where your uterus is, and that's about where these organs are right here. So this is correctly labeled that this is the ovaries, and what do the ovaries hold? Your egg, and your eggs travel through what? Your fallopian tube, and if it's fertilized, then it will plant itself in the what? In the uterus. And if not, when you have your period every 28 days or so, you will release that blood lining, and it will come out of it will go through your cervix and out of your vaginal opening. And very important to understand that some people have had babies and don't understand what they're measuring when they say 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter. Don't understand that they are actually measuring your cervix. And just providing this information, we have found to be very, very effective in getting women to want to try the female condom. It's also very effective in explaining to men, because I don't know a man that will turn down the idea of having him feel like he's doing a lot more when he's really not, because the condom is helping him out. Like, those kind of things really help when we're trying to sell the condom. So, all right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about DC's Doing It. DC's Doing It is basically the training of peer leaders at distribution sites. We use social networks for education. One of the main reasons why people don't know about the female condom, because they don't talk about it. When you go into a movie and somebody reaches over to get a condom, what kind of condom do they get? A male condom. You'll be amazed at how many people will find out about a female condom if they just do it in one movie. But it's not the type of condom that is provided in normal conversation. And when we say condom, we don't even think about the female condom. So using social networks for education, because that's one of the places that people get a lot of their information on. You'd be surprised. People believe more what they read on Facebook than they read on CNN. So using social networks are very important. We redesigned the FC2 brochure with culturally competent illustrations. You will have the opportunity to get one of these packets up front. And when you do, it's spilling everything. When you do, you'll see this brochure that was redesigned to be culturally competent for the residents of District of Columbia and those that we typically do a lot of outreach to. And it gives some instructions on how to use it. And we also, the female condom is not, it's not approved by the, what am I trying to say? The name is out. It's not approved for anal sex, but we found out that people are using it for anal sex. And so since we do know that people are using it for anal sex, we do tell them how to safely use it. So it's approved for vaginal sex. That's what it's been tested and evaluated as. But we have a lot of people, women and men, that use the female condom for anal sex. So we do explain to them about how to use that. And that's just as simple as when I pull out the condom, you'll see popping out the ring on the inside, and then it can be used for anal sex as well. And the other thing that we do, and we're really big at it, the Women's Collective, is safer sex parties. And safer sex parties, sometimes when I do this presentation, I have Vagina with me. She's the star of safer sex parties. She actually was here speaking to you all, but she was here under the name of Sabrina yesterday. But she does a character called Vagina, and we do safer sex parties. And that's kind of what I want to show you, how these safer sex parties have been very influential in getting women to use the female condom. So, and we also have a newly designed website. So if you have a chance, jot that down, go check it out. There's videos on there of women talking about the female condom, videos on there about how to use the female condom. There's some places, if you want more information, you can find out who has the female condom to get it up, to go and pick one up. But we also use that. And then we've just been placing them everywhere. We try to normalize the female condom. The reason why people don't use it is because they don't see it anywhere except for you, this one little health educator that's trying to tell them about this female condom. But if we place it in barbershops, hair salons, laundromats, health fairs, metro stations, partner agencies, anywhere, so that everywhere they go, the same way you get the free condom, the free male condom, there's a free female condom sitting right there, people will begin to normalize it and begin to not see it as something that is weird, or I don't trust that, or that doesn't work, or that's not effective, or I should watch out from that. Because our community sometimes can be very skeptical of new things, and especially new health tools. So one of our main things that we try to do is just place it everywhere. We also conduct focus groups that talk about what are your experiences with the female condom, focus groups that talk about how has it worked, the female condom, how has it worked for you, and that sometimes just gets feedback on condom, how the negotiation went, how did it feel to you, and that's where we find out a lot of the great information that we use in our safer sex parties and other demonstrations. Next slide. So it has been some challenges in getting women to use the female condom. One is lack of sexual and reproductive knowledge, which is why we do these in our safer sex parties. Really, this helps a lot. Just understanding how your body works helps women to understand why the condoms work. Cultural norms. A woman touching herself is taboo. In order for you to put on a female condom, you have to touch your vagina. And you have to be comfortable with touching your vagina. And sometimes it's helpful to talk in dialogue with other people about what that's like to touch your vagina. Sometimes deal with some of the things that people think, oh, it's weird, it's dirty, it's nasty, a woman doesn't touch herself, all these other things. Sometimes it ends up in conversations about masturbation. All that kind of stuff is important because a woman will not use a female condom just because she's always been told since a little girl, don't play with that, don't touch that. The shortage of knowledge about the benefits of the female condom. Sometimes women don't know, or men don't know that you can put it on 2 hours before, and we don't have to stop as we've been getting into it to put it on. Just talking to them about the benefits of the female condom is very important. A lack of confidence in making decisions about sexual health issues. So sometimes a large part of our safer sex parties is really about talking about negotiation. How do you talk to your partner about this? How do you get your partner to try this out? Because it's going to look a little different. The condom, he's looking at he's used to your vagina looking one way. It's going to look a little different when you put this condom on. How do you talk about that? And how do you feel confident in your ability to do that? And given the persuasive techniques and the absence of safe spaces to talk about these issues. So our safer sex parties usually are a group of friends, a group of peers, or someone who's in a certain network together, and they come together and they have a good time, kind of similar to, those toy parties. It's kind of like the same thing. It's a toy party, it's laughing, it's saying things, and they hide your face after you said it. It's a lot of talking very blunt and open and just really getting into the conversation and not feeling like you're going to be judged because you asked that question or said something about it. And a lot of times people assume that women have the spaces to do that. And we can have a lot of girlfriends, but we do not tell our girlfriends sometimes what happens in our bedroom for a lot of different reasons. Fear of being judged, fear of somebody trying to take your man, fear of several different things. And so when you give people a place to do that, you'll be amazed at the dialogue and what can happen. So I talked to you about our safer sex parties and vagina. If you are ever interested in having vagina or one of our other people come and do a safer sex party, perhaps with your office who may want to learn how to use the female condom and learn how to better implement it, you can always reach out to us and talk to us, and we can find a way to provide that type of service for you. And we're going to get started. Welcome to a safer sex party. I'm going to get ready to get started with this. It's going to be a little different. We normally don't have a big old room that we do a safer sex party in. It's usually a small room, intimate gathering. We sit in a circle, sit close, and really build from that. But I'm going to do it conference style, a safer sex party for you. So everyone has a female condom in front of you? Yes? No? Thought about it? Okay. So one of the things that I really can't do here because of just lack of materials to do it is we usually have music as a part of a safer sex party. So Vagina likes to come out in her little bustier and some short shorts, and she's throwing glitter and popping balloons and making it like really festive. Or if you have another prevention worker who maybe is doing a safer sex party, she's maybe not going to wear her bustier and get it all out, but we'll put in music, we'll make the environment very comfortable, maybe have some snacks for you. It's really about making people very comfortable and making them feel like I can say whatever I want to say in here. Maybe if they need to have a little drink with them to help it going, that whatever makes them feel like this is a comfortable space, it's me and my girlfriends, or me and these people who I trust, or me and these people who we have agreed in this little 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes that we're not going to say what happened in here. We create a very festive environment. And then we talk about some of the things that I just talked to you about, which is how to use the female condom. So I'm going to try to do this using, maybe I should come to the side with a microphone. So I'm just moving over here so that I can have free hands to kind of show you how to use it. The female condom. How many people here have ever, this is your first time ever seeing a female condom? Great. How many people have ever demonstrated how to use a female condom? Great. How many people have ever had someone ask you how to use a female condom? Cool. All right. So we have a couple people just like, I've seen it, but I don't really know what about it or what to do with it. What I would love to hear is, as I'm going through this, feel free to interrupt me. That's kind of the style of a safer sex party. It's very informal. So if I'm going through this, if you know that you've had a question about something before, as someone that's talking to you about the female condom, or someone usually interrupts you, asks this question, you don't know how to answer it, throw it at me. Let's see if I can do it, all right? First thing you want to know about the female condom, and some of you have male condoms in front of you. All right, so I passed out the male condoms just so we can look at it, because before you open up the female condom, the one thing that people always notice about it is that it is bigger than the male condom. And some people are like, that big old thing, where am I going to put that at? They don't even realize how big they are on the inside. So you'll give birth to an 8-pound baby. You can put this condom inside, but this is the size of a male condom. When I open this up, you're going to be able to visually see the size, compare what the female condom looks like. So we tell women the same thing you tell them with a male condom. The first thing you want to do when you're about to use a condom is what? Check the expiration date, right? So you want to look at the expiration date. On the old female condoms, they had the expiration date up under the fold, and on the new female condoms, they are actually listed in mine on the side, right? I'm about to say, I'm having a hard time. Oh, spinning it the wrong way. They're on the side. So if you open up the fold of your female condom, that's where you see it. Sometimes you have to if people are used to using the original female condom and not familiar with the FC2, that's very important that you point out to them where the expiration date is. So then after we check a typical female condom, and I'm talking to you differently because you have done, I'm sure, male condom demonstrations before. What do? Okay, so sometimes you tell people to feel for the air bubble. That doesn't work as much with the female condom because there's these rings inside of it that sometimes can be a bit confusing. But we usually tell them, don't open it with your mouth. Don't do anything like that. Just kind of tear it. And on the female condom, you'll notice that it has a little latch, which is different. So if you look at your at your thing, it has a little space right here, which makes it easy for you to tear it. Well, if your hands aren't full of condom juice, it's easy for you to tear. All right. So then once you pull it out, you want to note a couple things about this. If you are familiar, and I'm going to ask some people in here, are people in here familiar with the old condom and the new condom and the differences in the new condom? All right, somebody want to tell me what's one of the differences on this condom that the old female condom didn't have? I like to be interactive. Well, this one, some people say it's a little flimsy or it's a little tough. It's just that it's made out of different material. Okay. Right. The old condoms were made out of polyurethane. This one, anybody know what this one is made out of? Nitrile. Nitrile. So the reason, anybody know why they changed the material for the new condom to on the old condom? One is cheaper. So it made the female condom cheaper to change it to this material. This material is just as safe as polyurethane. And then the other thing is one of the main complaints about the old condom was that people would say they could hear the little while they were having sex. So this condom doesn't make that noise. Nitrile, Nitrile, nitrile. So that's one of the main differences of the female condom. And the thing about this material too is that it actually adheres. Look at that fancy word. Adheres to the vaginal wall. What that means is that when it's inserted inside of a woman, it will begin to actually stick to the walls of her vagina so that it forms to her vagina. Anybody want to know why that may be a good thing? I don't want the camera woman to get mad at me.
I said once it fits in the walls of the inside of the vagina, it won't be loose or a chance of it coming out, and that's one of the complaints, the things I used to hear when I used to use it in counseling testing with the old one about the female condom.
So that was one of the complaints was that noise, and then the fact that some people would say that they felt like it was slipping. The slipping can be due to a couple of different things, and one of them being that it's not properly placed inside of your vagina. But that adhering kind of sometimes removes that feeling of that. We also advise women that you put this in about 15 minutes before you have sex, and the reason why it takes about 15, it adheres based on your body temperature. So the heat from your vagina is what causes it actually to adhere to the walls of the vaginal area. So if you tell a woman just put it on about 15 minutes before, it will have time to kind of go around, and stick to the walls of her vagina. So you heard me talking about the use of this for anal sex. You notice that there's two rings on this. So there's the ring on the inside and then this ring on the outside. This ring on the inside can be easily just pulled out. And that's what we tell people to do if they're going to use it for anal sex, is to just pop the ring out of it. And then sometimes people may want to just simply pop it out and then insert it inside of the anus, or they'll put it on the penis and then use the penis to guide it inside of the anus. And keeping the same things that say true for this when I show you how to use it in vagina is to make sure that it doesn't go inside of the anus. Because the thing that's different with not having the ring inside is the ring is the thing that kind of locks it in place. When you take the ring out and use it on your anus, it may make it slightly easier for the condom to actually go down inside of the anus. From a male condom, you don't want the condom to go inside. This is supposed to actually be on the outside. So this is our vagina model here. And if anybody would like to, you can definitely try along with me if you want to pull your condom out and try the steps along. So, and this is pretty simple. If you've ever done the condom administration, this part is pretty simple. It's just taking the ring, pinching it, and then sticking it inside of the vaginal opening. So you take it and you stick the ring inside. You push it in with your finger. At a certain point, you won't be able to push the ring in anymore. So then that requires you to take your finger, put it inside of the actual condom, and push the ring back till it pops in place behind your pelvic bone. That is why the ring is important, and it's not a good idea to use it for vaginal sex without the ring, because without the ring, it doesn't have something to kind of mount to. So the ring, if you look at this ring, and if you're familiar with female forms of birth control, the ring that some people use for birth control. It's that same basic concept, and women who are used to using the ring as birth control will find this very easy to do because they know how to pop a ring in place and they know how to push it back inside of them. So we typically take a vaginal, in our safer sex parties, we would have something like this available so women can practice and get that feel of how to push it back. Also, you can, if you don't have, because these things are very expensive, toilet paper rolls work really good, just the inside of the toilet paper roll. Because what you want them to get the feel for is that you have to push it back the regular way, and then you're going to have to stick your finger inside of your vagina and push it back. Remember that part I talk about cultural norms of not wanting to touch yourself? It's very important that you're clear on there's nothing wrong with touching yourself. And if it's your vagina, why would you let somebody else touch it and you scared to touch it and he don't even have one? Those are kind of things we say, like, you afraid to touch your vagina, you let somebody else touch it. He don't have one to know what it's supposed to do. So you need to be very comfortable with touching yourself and pushing it back. So when you actually have sex and you go through the process of penetration, I'm gonna use this pencil as my thing. So the penis would go inside of the vaginal and inside the vagina, inside of the condom. It should not go on the side like this, under, or anything like that. And if that does happen, what we tell people is to remove the condom. The reason why we tell them to remove the condom is we all know sometimes a man can have vaginal fluids on his penis and he will not have come yet. And so if you have now introduced his vaginal fluids on the outside of this condom and you leave it inside of you and then you adjust yourself and put it in, you're basically opening yourself up to the very thing that you were protecting yourself against. So if there is some, and most of the time women find it better if they got it in themselves because they kind of know how their vagina works, and it's an empowering thing. And a lot of women, we have a lot of women who maybe participate in sex work who find this useful because it can be very discreet. I can pop this on and I will hold his penis and put it in, and he does not even know that I have a condom on, because we all know if you are involved in sex work, you get more money for not using a condom. So sometimes this is a way that women will kind of work the system, protect themselves, because that allure of more money is very important, especially if you're doing this trying to provide for yourself and your family. So this is a discreet way of trying to still get that more money, but protect yourself from possibly becoming infected. So once you have had sex, what is the benefit? Somebody tell me, what's the benefit of this condom over the male condom after ejaculation? Anybody know? You don't have to pull out right away. The reason why you have to, when you use a male condom, the reason why you have to pull out right away is because what happens to a man's penis after he has sex and he's came? It gets small, right? It's not the same size it was when it started off in that condom. And once the penis starts to get small, the condom gets baggy, when it can come off while you're laying there, or when he goes to remove himself, that's when the condom will come off and stay inside of the vaginal canal. And you don't want that to happen. But because the female condom is used on your vagina, it doesn't matter if he stays there long. And that sometimes that's an important part of sex, that after sex talk, that after sex sleep, that stuff what people don't really want to use. And a lot of people have issues with the male condom and don't realize why the condom is coming off and why they're having these accidents. A lot of people don't know you have to pull out immediately with the male condom. So with this one, it gives you another option where you don't have to actually pull out right away, because you're still protected because all of the fluid is inside of this condom. So once you're actually ready to pull out, we tell you to take it and spin it. Why are we spinning it? To lock the fluids in, so when you pull it out, you won't run the risk of anything actually coming out. And then you just pull it out and you dispose of it just like you would with a male condom. It's not to be flushed down the toilet or any kind of things like that. You still want to wrap it up and use it just like you would a male condom. Sometimes we get questions about, can I use this again? Because unlike the male condom, sometimes people think this material especially it's a lot stronger than male condoms. So people are like, can I just wash this thing out and use it again? And we tell them no, it's not. We have heard of people who do that, who do use them over and over again, but it's definitely not advised that you use the female condom over and over again. One use is it, and then you throw it away. Anybody have any questions about that kind of process? Anybody had any questions in your condom demonstrations that maybe I didn't touch on, or reasons why people don't want to use them? Anything? Did I bore you to death? No? Okay, so what I'm going to pass out to you now. So these are some tips that we give to people in when you're using a female condom, how to make it fun, festive, and make people actually want to use it after they finish with you. So the first one is what? Make it fun, free, and free of judgment. Feel free to add music, scents. Vagina, when she comes in, she usually gives the vagina smell. She has this perfume that she sprays in the air. It makes everybody feel all warm and sexy as they're talking about things. Sometimes we'll have balloons. Sometimes we'll have, that idea of getting together friends to discuss this. And when you're on the street, sometimes that's a little bit different. If you're trying to just do this like out of your street van, or you just in the office, someone pops in and you want to give them that thing. So you kind of have to portray that through you. When you talk about it, it has to be fun, upbeat. Hey, this is what you want to use. Kind of just really promoting this as something great. Because like I said before, people typically have a lot of skepticism about new things. And you want to be very upbeat. You don't want to seem the least bit like you don't really know what you're talking about, or you don't really advise this. And one thing that I do always recommend, use it for yourself. When you use it for yourself a couple of times, you can talk about it a lot more freely. You'll know some of the questions that people have, and you'll be able to kind of say, oh, well, this is what I do. And people love to hear that you use it too, and be able to pull back off of you. Explain how the reproductive system works. That's very important. Address cultural taboos. Some of those things like touching yourself, self-pleasure, talking openly about sex, and women carrying condoms. Sometimes people have this idea that I can't carry a condom, and I'm especially not going to already have my condom on when you come over here, because then that makes me a hoe. This idea, and you have to talk openly about that, about what that means and how to really fight that stigma about that, a woman having her own condoms and being able to feel comfortable putting it on. Because some people, I've heard a couple stories where he thought I must do tricks or something because I knew how to use this and nobody else knew how to use it. No, it doesn't mean you necessarily do tricks. It means that you're educated and you need to feel empowered to tell him, and now I'm going to educate you. So really talking about those things. Explain new features of the SE2. Some of those new features we talked about here, that it's actually cheaper than it was before, that it's more widely available. In DC, it's available at all CVS. I think throughout the country, you can get it at Wegmans. It's available at most Wegmans, but in DC we don't have very many Wegmans, so it's in all CVS. The new material, the nitrile material, if they've had experiences with the old female condom, you can kind of compare and contrast what this new material provides for you. The less noise. And the one thing that I didn't talk about is that it's a great idea to use lubricant with the male condom and the female condom. And the great thing about the female condoms, you can use any kind of lubricant you want. So if I want to use Crisco, if I want to use baby oil, and we've heard these before, we're not making this up. It doesn't matter if it's just water-based. It can be any oil. So sometimes we have those, women will have those oils that smell good or something like that, and they want to give that illusion that it's roses down here too. You can do that as well. You can use any kind of material, any kind of lubricant with the female condom, and that's a great selling point for it as well. Explain the benefits of the female too, the fact that it can provide enhanced pleasure through clitoral stimulation. You also want to talk about inserting it 2 hours before sex. And you even want to talk about those ideas of being discreet and how you can put it on and have it already available. And if you don't want someone to know that you're using a condom, because you may be in that type of relationship where that's not open, or your man just may have condom phobia and he frees up every time you see one, you can pretend like you don't have one on if you lube it up real right and make sure you're the one got it in there. Those things are great points to make sure that you bring out to women. It's also a great idea to provide condom negotiation skills. The same thing that applies with how do you get someone to use a male condom as far as talking to your partner about it. It's great to talk to them about this too. And it's even more important because chances are their partner will have never heard of it before. Allow time for questions, demonstrations, and practice. You do it, let them do it, talk back and forth. The great thing about this condom is you can pull one out the pack and you can do 3 or 4 people can try it out and see how it feels. Allow people time to try it with you. And then also tell them to try it before. In our packets, what we usually give out are 3. And the reason why is because no one ever gets it right on the first try. So it allows you, one, just to practice with. Just put it on and then vacuum your floor. See how you feel. See if you like vacuuming a little better. Like, just put it on and see what it feels like. Sometimes, I tried it once, but I still don't feel good about trying it with my partner yet. Can I try it one more time? Here's a second one in here. Try it out another day. It's very important that they have that option. Don't give them just one female condom. Give them several and say, try it out by yourself. Because sometimes what happens is I try it out with my partner and it doesn't go well because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then we both end up saying, this is stupid. We shouldn't be using this. And then either we don't use a condom or we return to using male condoms, which may not have been working for us. Or they were, but we wanted a new option. So that's why it's always important that you tell a woman, try it out first by yourself. And then the last thing is just have fun. Very important. We found that to be the best part of it. When people have fun, when they have it's really about that idea of that it's like a commercial. If you create the first time that they hear about the condom, they associate it with a great time, a great conversation, great fun, hee ha-has, thinking about everything. That's what they'll associate with the female condom, and that will make them more likely to actually want to try it out. Any questions? No? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. That's a good thing? Abby, you have a question in the back? Yeah. Thank you. Abby's a ringer. She's working for TWC. She writes these presentations. But she's great. I touched on before about how the warming sensation and how that allows it to kind of adhere to the vaginal walls. The other thing is that men are very receptive to this too. The idea that they can, that spontaneous nature that it provides, men really like that. I told you about the men really liking the idea that while they're doing their work, the condom may be doing its work and providing clitoral stimulation as well. Men typically like that too. And they like the option of not having the burden sometimes on them to be always the one who needs to have it or need to put it on. They sometimes just like the fact you can put it on too. And it is a form of, once a man knows how to use it, it can become a form of foreplay. A lot of people talk about, even if a man doesn't know how to use it, letting him watch her put it on. That's a form of foreplay sometimes that people enjoy. And so we do a lot of our work with women, and we're a very women-focused organization, but we do have experience of talking to men about it. And we do have men that come into our office once they've experienced using a female condom that really enjoy it.
I just got one concern. The texture of the condom, I know it's different than the male condom. Do you get a similar feeling of the vagina, or is it different?
It's a similar feeling as a vagina, but the difference with this material, remember I told you how it adheres to the vaginal walls because it feels that warmth. Sometimes that warmth is better felt through the female condom because it actually, it's a heat conducting material. So it allows you to feel that warmth that sometimes men enjoy, and which is the reason why they don't want to use a condom, because they like that warmth. It's sometimes better felt with this condom, just because of the material allows heat to be conducted to the partner easier. I'm coming around. I feel like Oprah.
Anybody complained of having any allergies to
Allergy, I'm sorry, it's real loud. Allergy complaints are really rare. It's not made out of latex, which is the number one thing that people usually have the allergies to. Polyurethane was what it was made out of before, which was to kind of prevent those allergies. And nitro is kind of on that same level. It doesn't have the same allergy reaction. So allergies are really much more rare than latex. Any other questions? Part of that complaint is about that warm feeling. It's about feeling that barrier in between. So what I was explaining about that warm feeling. The other thing is that, where's my female condom? The other thing is that, do y'all know what the most sensitive part of a male penis is? The tip. Some men say that they enjoy having this because some men say that they can actually feel the ring and it like rubs up against the tip of the penis. So that's another reason why sometimes men really like it, because it provides another form of stimulation through that lightly rubbing the tip of the penis. So some men, when they just don't like condoms, don't like them, don't like the idea of a condom, don't like the idea of a barrier, it's really hard to get anything past them. But a lot of men prefer this for those reasons that I talked about. Is that the feeling is not on his penis, it's on you, and that feeling is all on you. You know, it's around your vaginal opening. Abby, you wanted to add to that?
Not everybody has the size of a penis to wear a magnum, but they ask for the magnums because they don't restrict the penis as much, right? So the number one reason we hear men don't want to wear a condom is because it's too restricting. And this female condom removes that restriction entirely. So many men are really excited about using this because of that. But to be honest, it's a bag, right? So sometimes it feels like a bag. So it's just getting accustomed to that this is going to be very different to using a male condom is something that we have to prepare the clients that we're working with and people in the streets with. So it's different, but that difference can become phenomenal with more and more and more conversation.
And that's why it's important that you explain those things to them, like what we talked about, you know, the size is bigger. It's important that you explain how it works. How sometimes it's important that you explain to a man how a female reproductive. It's very important, in fact, to explain to him how it works as well, because then he can understand the difference and conceptualize how it works. But Abby brought up a great point about that magnum thing, and we all know that sometimes we don't all need them. So especially for men who sometimes just like to have that magnum, but it may not be what they need, that can be the good cover-up. I'm saying that nicely. Any other any other comments, questions? How am I on time? What time is it? I have a question. How many of you have female condoms available in your offices? So some agencies still haven't been able to effectively use. Can I ask you why? Why some of you who don't have them in your office yet, why don't you have them? No one, everybody hush falls over the crowd. In your agency, if you don't have female condoms available, what might be the reason why you don't have them available? Okay. No one knows. Well, I encourage you. Oh, somebody does know? Somebody has a hand raised? Oh, no? Let's you put it down? Okay. Well, I encourage you, thank you. I encourage you to try to find out why you don't have them available in your office and see if you can. They definitely are received well. When you understand them and you buy into them, other people buy into them as well. But we have to kind of get rid of some of our, oh, that's right. Oh, so I touched on it perfectly. When you buy into them and you're knowledgeable and confident in it, it makes it a lot better. And sometimes when we have our safer sex parties, we put them in these cute little, you see the little cute container and package like that, because women love to feel cute and sweet. And so that might not be as appropriate if you're doing this presentation with a bunch of men. They might not want to feel cute and sweet. But but women kind of enjoy that and like that little discreet. And some women keep the pouches to use for later, for actually where they store their female condoms in. So it's just another way of adding that touch to your parties and to your demonstration, where it's very feminine, very woman-focused, very friendly. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, thank you. I will be up here to answer any questions you may have later. And please feel free to come up and grab some of those materials that I have up front.